Hey everybody, good morning. We're live at CSLDallas and it is 9:15-ish Central Time, and I'm so glad that you've decided to join us today for the Sunday morning Science of Mind class. My name is Tracy Brown and I'm so delighted to hang out with you a little bit, dive into what Ernest Holmes wrote in the book The Science of Mind, and let's ask ourselves, what does that have to do with me, and what does it mean, and how do I apply it? So if this is your first time with us, every Sunday we come together and we simply look into what Ernest Holmes wrote and take a little snippet of it in sequence. So it takes us a few years actually to get through the entire book. And today we're going to begin on page 129 and start a new chapter. New month, new chapter. Before we do that, I want to invite you to take a deep breath with me and release it, letting go of everything that has happened before this very moment. And on the next inhale, become fully present right here, right now. Let's dive in. So up until this point, in the first 128 pages, Ernest Holmes has been going through some basics related to the science of mind. What is spirit? What is God? What is this thing that we call God or the universe, and how does it apply to us? We spent the last couple of months on the relationship that humanity has to divinity, and now we're starting in this chapter to pull it all together, the nature of God, the nature of humanity, and how they interact or how they work together. So chapter 7, page 129, it's called a summary of part 1, the nature of being. I'm taking a breath because I'm going to read that one more time. This chapter is called the summary of part 1, the nature of being. What that means is that everything in this chapter we've already covered. It's a summary. It's a review. It's a point to go, hey, wait a minute, did I get that? Or, hey, wait a minute, that still doesn't make sense. Hey, wait a minute, I don't know whether I agree with it or not. So I love that we have this opportunity to summarize everything that we supposedly learned, but from a perspective of, I've heard it all before, now can I put it all together? So, first paragraph on page 129. There is a universal presence that acts as though it were intelligent, and we may assume that it is. There is a universal intelligence acting as law. We may also assume this to be true. There is a formless stuff in the universe, forever taking form and forever changing its form. This we may accept as being self-evident. Okay? First paragraph, summary. There's a universal presence that's intelligent. There's a universal intelligence that is the law. And there is formless stuff in the universe that's constantly taking and changing form. 3 key points. And when we see and remember and recognize and think about those 3 key points, that's where he's starting us. Like, we know this. We are simply getting a reminder of it. Second paragraph, page 129. We have every reason to postulate a threefold nature of the universal being, which we shall call spirit, soul, and body. We shall think of spirit as the great actor, soul as the medium of its action, and body the result of its action. Repeating. We have every reason to postulate a threefold nature of the universal being, which we shall call spirit, soul, and body. We shall think of spirit as the great actor, soul as the medium of its action, and the body the result of its action. Continuing, we shall think of spirit as the only conscious actor, the power that knows itself. We shall think of soul as a blind force, obeying the will of spirit. And we shall think of body as the effect of spirit, working through law to produce form. We shall assume that neither law nor the stuff from which form comes has conscious intelligence, but must, because of their nature, be formed by the word. This simplifies the whole matter and enables us to see that in the entire universe, one power alone really acts, the power of the Word of Spirit, God, or universal conscious intelligence, period. End of paragraph. So I'm taking a deep breath because it, took us over 128 pages to get to that summary. And I think if we read that summary in the beginning, which we kind of did in those 4 introductory chapters, it might not have made sense.
Might not. I was there. It did not make sense.
Right? And so then by going through the first 6 chapters, the 4 introductory chapters, plus the first 6 chapters, where Ernest Holmes has taken all of this key message, right? There's one universal being. It is operating based on 3 different functions, but they're integrated into one being. Then, now he can say it in 2 paragraphs instead of 128 pages. So key points here in the beginning of this chapter 7, right? There's a universal presence, and it acts as though it were intelligence, and we can assume it is. Okay, we've got spirit, soul, and body. We've talked about up until now what those 3 elements are, and he summarizes them here again. And I have to admit, this is one of the few times where I'm realizing, because there's such a stark contrast, Ernest Holmes is very direct and to the point here. Right? He could have taken each one of those and written a whole chapter on it, which he did up in the front. But here, he says in one sentence for each thing, what is spirit, what is soul, what is body. And for those of us who are direct communicators, it's like, oh, okay, if I didn't get it before, I've got it now. It's right here. So I'm going to read that 2nd paragraph one more time, and then we're going to move into some conversation about what does it mean to you, how do you know it's true, or what questions do you have? 2nd paragraph on page 129 in the chapter's summary of part 1, The Nature of Being. We have every reason to postulate a threefold nature of universal being, which we shall call spirit, soul, and body. We shall think of spirit as the great actor, soul as the medium of its action, and body the result of its action. We shall think of spirit as the only conscious actor, the power that knows itself. We shall think of soul as a blind force obeying the will of spirit. And we shall think of body as the effect of spirit, working through law to produce form. We shall assume that neither law nor the stuff from which form comes has conscious intelligence, but must, simply because of their nature, be formed by the word. This simplifies the whole matter and enables us to see that in the entire universe, one power alone is acting. It is the power of the word of spirit, the word of God, the word of universal conscious intelligence. Let's play. Now, it's so very simple and super complex at the same time. So my question for all of us, for each one of us, is to actually stop and think, what does this mean to me? How do I put that in my own words? Or how do I know I understand it? How would I explain it to someone else? And then third, if you're like, I have no idea how I would explain it to someone else because I don't understand it, then try to come to that place of, well, what is it that I don't understand? Or what is it in that is a little confusing for me? Because if this whole chapter is summarizing part one, we want to make sure our foundation of these basic points is solid before we start adding to it. So, Ryan, how about some instructions?
Well, hello, and it's so great to have you back, Dr. Tracy Brown. If you guys didn't know, she was on a Spirit Tours journey over there in Egypt, leading a group over there. And we saw you the other weekend. I don't know if you saw. Yeah, I was shouting her out over there as she was sipping some tea on the Nile. It was great. And it's amazing that we can all be connected in spiritual community and have these conversations. So that's exactly what this time is all about. And so for the folks that are joining us here in the room, if you want to just raise your hand. I feel so alone when I do this. There you go. At least I get a hello back. Hi, how you doing? And for the folks that are joining us via Zoom, you can hit the raise your hand icon located down below underneath the reactions or the more tab, and we can put into the room. And hello to all the folks all around the world who are joining us on Facebook Live. Make sure you check in, say where you're watching us from today, and chime in with your questions or comments and put those in the chat as well, and we can bring those into the room. So with that being said, Tracy asked some pretty intriguing questions about this. So anybody here in the room have a question or a comment? I see we have Carmen over here. Go ahead, Carmen.
Hi, my name is Carmen. So when you said the spirit, soul, and body, and I'm just want to get confirmation, like if I'm understanding it right. You said to ask that question. So I'm thinking the subconscious, that the spirit is the thoughts that we have, and the soul is the feeling in, like I would say, I got like my stomach, like a gut instinct, and then because that emotion down there, it could tell on your body, and where that could cause like different diseases. You know, if you have those emotions that you're carrying and stuff there, it can cause, you said the body, so the body will show whatever is. So I'm thinking, like, am I on the right track of that? Because, like, you know, the emotion here, it can put a lot of weight and stress on your body, and, you know, it can cause different conditions, skin conditions, headaches, you know, things like that. So I don't know if that's something.
Yes, thank you, Carmen. So, close, close, close. So, when we talk about spirit, soul, body, and as Ernest Holmes talks about it even here in this summary, what you're referring to as emotions having an effect is actually at the spirit, it's actually at the intention part. So our intentions are set based on our thoughts and our feelings and the way they integrate with what we expect. So soul is the law. It is simply responding to the instruction that we give it. The instruction that we give it is the part that in this wording, spirit, soul, body, spirit or the consciousness is the instruction. It is the actor, as Ernest Holmes talks about at the beginning of this paragraph. It is the actor that then soul is making happen, and it shows up as the effect or as body and form. So in our human experience, whether we are thinking or feeling, we are programming what we are asking the universe to deliver. So the emotions that we have, or the emotional reaction, the physical, mental, and emotional experience that we have is programming or directing the universe to deliver something. So don't separate out, well, I don't want to say don't separate out your thoughts from your feelings. I don't want to say that because I think it's important for us to be able to do that. But we have to understand that it is both our thoughts and our feelings combined that place the order on the menu of life. So our emotions sometimes and often are reactions to what we've experienced, but in this context of the triune nature or the Trinity nature of how the universe works, they are working together to say this is the experience I want to have or don't want to have. Does that make any sense, or is it more confusing?
So what you're saying is, you know how they have a saying that you're mirroring what you see. So are you saying like the soul is that law that whatever we are in turn, like how we feel, like we're mirroring who we are. So you're saying the soul is the one that will produce that. We will keep on recreating that experience for us.
The soul is the law.
The law.
And the law responds to what we, I'm using programming just because it's easy for most of us nowadays to think of programming the computer. So the computer doesn't make the decision. We actually are making the decision by what we program the computer to do. Mm-hmm. And so the computer would be the law. It is simply responding to the direction we give it. And the direction we give it, we're giving it direction sometimes by the direct words that we use, but often it is the emotion. So how many of you have taken a class where you've either written or worked with affirmations? Right? And we say our affirmations over and over and over because we're programming our subconscious to believe that or to do that. And we're placing an order. But one of the main things about affirmations that a lot of people forget is it's not just the words, it's the emotion that we attach to the words. So often when we're teaching new people who are new to affirmations, it'll be like, I am a successful business owner. I am a successful business owner. And they'll say it over and over, but they don't believe it, and it's kind of flat. That's very different than I I am experiencing 10% increase in profit every year, and I'm so excited. Or I am so happy that my business is successful and I have new clients every month, because I'm adding a level of emotion to it. So be careful about thinking emotion is bad or emotion means I'm having a negative reaction. We want to integrate emotion into the order that we are placing on the universe for what we want to experience or what we claim in our lives. It's not a separate thing over here that's a reaction to our thoughts or experiences. It is. Our emotions are our experience. Okay, who else has a question or an insight, or do we have someone online?
Well, I'm looking here online just to poll and see if there's anybody. I'm not seeing anybody here in the room. We have someone. Here we go.
My name's Willie. And the way I understand it is we're not talking about our physical body. We're talking about the way the universe works. And what Ernest Holmes calls the body is not our body. It's the things that we create with our thoughts and our emotions and everything that we put into the law. And the law is the stuff that everything is made out of, and the intention has to go through the law in order to become whatever it is we want, or we think we want in that moment.
Or what we believe we want,
Yes.
until we get it and
Until we
say,
get it and we get sick of
well,
it.
let's change that. Yeah, I just had that conversation with someone yesterday. So thank you for that, Willie, because, well, we're talking about both because we're summarizing part one. But yes, part one, the nature of being. I really love that you just took us back to, let's not only look at it from the human perspective, but look at it from the universal perspective. What is the nature of all creation? What is the nature of the creator? What is the nature of what is happening? And I think you added a lot when you did that, because it does help us to separate and to clarify in our own minds what we're dealing with in terms of the language we use. So if you've been with us for a while as we've gotten to page 129, and you recognize that we spent a whole chapter, probably 3, 4, or 5 weeks on that term, the body, and effect and form, and how we're not simply looking at the human physical body or the physical body of our pet dog or the physical of anything, but the body is the effect. And yes, I will emphasize the effect, even though in everyday language I probably just say the effect, but it's hard to know, or is someone saying effect or affect or affect? So the effect or the form may or may not be physical, it may just be the experience we have. So excellent. And see, this is why you want to do the Science of Mind class every Sunday, because Willie has been doing this for decades, and it's so how
20 years to get that part.
right? It took 20 years to actually now be able to listen to it and immediately translate it and go, okay, wait, remember, we're not talking about this, we're talking about this. Yes, we have another question or comment in the room, and be sure to say your name.
I'm Amelia, and this is my first time being here, but I'm just wondering, or just an idea I guess I had about it, is that they're separate, but at the same time, when it starts to affect you physically, like you were talking about the emotions and getting sick and your well-being, I wonder if it's like at that point when it's kind of your body, your physical body is telling you, hey, come back, take a look at the body. If that makes any sense. I don't know if that's right, or because I can see how they're separate but integrated, and I don't know if that's right, but it's just my thought.
It's a great thought. It is a great thought. So let's see what I can do with that. Is it separated and is it integrated? Yes. Or is it separated? Yes. Is it integrated? Yes. Because we're talking about it on multiple levels at the same time. And then using the word it, what is it, right? So one of the things that I would want to say about that is this. Everything that we think and feel, right? Everything that we individually think or feel is going to show up. Now, it doesn't mean that every individual thought you think or every individual feeling is going to show up just like this, like immediately. Our experience is the reflection of a pattern of thought and a pattern of feeling most of the time. Now, if you're in a life or death situation, the power of your energy, because you're having such a strong reaction, it may show up just like this. But in general, in our lives are reflecting the pattern, the thoughts we think most frequently, the feelings we feel most frequently or have a strong attachment to. So we're looking in our individual lives at patterns. We're looking at the human life of our culture, society, the school we go to, the family we're part of, same thing. Patterns of thought, feeling, and behavior. But then now let's step up, let's go upstairs a little bit to the pattern of divinity, or how the pattern shows up. How the universe is taking instruction from everyone and everything. So we have patterns that show up in society as well. So all of that's going on at the same time. It can be really complex when we try to figure out or solve an organizational problem or a pattern in the family that has continued generation over generation over generation. So we can make it really complicated, but the best thing to do is to bring it back down to first, the universal level. How is the system designed to work? How is the system of life and creation designed to work? And then how does that show up in my individual life? Because the way I live my individual life gets replicated by 8 billion people. And the same pattern is happening, even though they're getting a different result. So going back to just these first two paragraphs, in this chapter, chapter 7, which is focused on summarizing the nature of being, then if we go to the universal level, we have infinite intelligence. And it is working by setting a clear intention that is communicated through the invisible. The intention is invisible. It gets dropped into the law, soul in this case, but the law, which can only say yes. It can only say yes to whatever the intention is, and then It says yes and pulls all the resources together to deliver that intention, and in the delivery is the effect or the form in which it takes. And so the form we're referring to as body, spirit, soul, body. Get it on a universal level, then take it into your own life, and then how are you contributing to what we see as a societal pattern? It's all the same thing. Take a deep breath.
All right, I have Anita here with us. Anita, do you want to go ahead and unmute yourself and join us?
Hey, good morning, Dr. Tracy.
Good morning.
So talking about this subject, one of the things that pops into my mind is when we're talking about spirit, the reminder that we're a co-creator with spirit, so that as we are setting our intentions, right, then we are co-creating our lives, co-creating what we're looking for with the infinite. And so, here lately, as you know, my experience of that is I set out in an intention to buy a new car. And in that intention, I said, well, I want it to be this make, I want it to be this model, I want it to be this trim level with these kind of features, I want it to be this color, and I want it to be at this kind of price point. And so, I set all of those intentions first, put all of that information into the law. Then I set out on researching where might I find that, in this manifest world, right? But then, so I go and show up and I look at a vehicle, but then, it's like, I have to let go and let the universe fulfill what my intention was as far as bringing to me that financial aspect of it, right? Because that car dealer has a bit to play into it. But, it's like now the law has to conspire everything, because mine is only the what. What do I want? And it's up to the law then, or soul, to conspire and put everything into place so that my body then manifests to me into the brand new vehicle that's parked in my garage this morning.
Woohoo! Yeah, so that's a great example, and it's so helpful, Anita, thank you. It's so helpful to have some tangible examples, even though we're challenged to both use the human tangible example and then back up to how does this really happen on the universal scale. But I love this example because in this case, a very clear intention was set, and there was a lot of specificity around it based on what Anita knew and what she had researched, and then all the details of the where and the who and the when, they came together in their own time and in their own way. So there are 10 things I want to say, but I need to bring it into one or two. Wait. Okay, so spirit, soul, body. Spirit, the intention, or the decision, or the desire. Soul, the mixing bowl, where all those intentions, desires have been placed, and then they're being mixed together to then create the outcome. That's the creative process. That's the nature of God itself, to be all of that. And Anita talked about and gave an example at all three levels, but it's one example. Anita wanted a new car and now has one in her garage. Anita's not three different people. She's one person utilizing and operating within the context of 3 integral parts. Does that make sense? No. Yeah, I'm not so sure. If I'm looking at the faces in the room and you online, I can't see your face. So if that doesn't make sense, then please raise your hand or put a comment in the chat. If it does make sense, say that as well, because that will let me know whether to move on to the next couple of paragraphs. But I'm seeing activity in the room, so we're going to start there.
I'm Willie, and I just had a thought. You could compare it to baking a cake.
Yes.
You want to have a chocolate cake. So you think about all the ingredients that go into that cake. And then they go into the mixing bowl. And then you mix it all up. And then your outcome is your body over here, your perfect chocolate cake.
Yes, and that mixing bowl came out of my mouth because I looked over here as I was talking and I saw the master baker of over here in the corner, and I was like, yeah, I could see Glenda putting these ingredients in the bowl and mixing them up, and then we get the best vegan cookies in the universe. Yes, that's the yes, that's the order I'm placing. The best cookies in the universe.
Absolutely. So I would even carry this a little further, that analogy. Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Glenda. I would even carry that baking analogy a little further. So we have an idea of a chocolate cake. And so we gather our ingredients because we're doing what we know to do. We're following a recipe. So we get the flour, we get the sugar, we get the chocolate, we get the baking powder, or whatever it is that is in that particular recipe. We gather those things and we do what the recipe says. We put in a cup of this, we put in a quarter teaspoon of that, and we put all that in a bowl and we mix it and we turn the oven on a certain temperature and we put it in a certain size pan. But here's the part we don't know about. We don't know how it is that all of those things come together and make a chocolate cake. We don't know how it rises. We don't know why when we put butter with sugar, with baking powder, with baking soda, that it turns into a cake. That's the law part. That is the subconscious part, the soul part that does the work, that knows what to do, knows how to do the thing that we want done. So without that part of it, we still don't have a chocolate cake. We could gather the ingredients, we could put them in the bowl, we can mix them up, we can put them in the oven. But without that part that we don't know about, there's no chocolate cake.
We can describe it.
Yes.
We can observe the outcome, the effect.
Yes.
But we don't actually know how to
We don't know
do
how.
it.
Yes.
We're not doing the binding.
Yes.
The other piece that I'm going to add to that, Glenda, which is so beautifully stated, is that every one of us in the room and every one of us online could start with the same recipe. I'm going to follow the recipe based on what I know, step by step by step, because, I don't have a lot of experience and I want it to come out and look like the picture. But Glenda, who has a lot of experience and is very creative and can trust her instinct, she knows that she wants to follow that recipe and she's going to add her little flavor, or she's going to put nuts in it or something that makes it uniquely hers. So the law, the soul is going to be the same. It's going to take all these ingredients and bind them together, and I did my part, right? But it's going to be different, right? And then Ross may say, yeah, it's chocolate, but I'm going to drop this raspberry in here, or I'm going to make the chocolate cake as the base, but I'm going to put raspberry between the layers because I like raspberry. And so we still, even though we're all using the same process and we're all operating under spirit, soul, body, the universal law, we each have not only the ability, but the responsibility to customize what the universe provides based on what it is that I am here to do or who I am here to be. So actually, Ernest Holmes hasn't quite gotten to that. We'll get to that in a little bit later in this chapter. But it's fascinating to know. And I think we're going to go online in just a minute if we have someone. But there's a voice in my head saying, and also reinforce, that these are really good examples for us to use the context of the human experience. But we're only doing that to give you a way to step over the threshold into, but how does this work universally? So be careful about capturing the human without being able to broaden it to something that's bigger than just humanity. Ryan?
Well, I don't know about you or the folks online, but every time we get into this conversation, we use that analogy, I just get more and more hungry. So that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Brenda. Brenda, you want to go ahead and unmute yourself and join us?
Good morning. So I'm going to take this baking analogy. Hi, Dr. Tracy. Hi, community. I'm going to take this baking analogy one step more to the universal. Yes. Because the universal, in its infinite intelligence, has infinite possibilities and multiplicity in how it can express. Yes. So that family recipe that's carried down from generation to generation that we might have individualized with some nuts or some raspberries, we're now going to broaden the box because I'm going to make it gluten-free, and Glenda's going to make it vegan, and Chris is going to turn it into lovely little cake pops. Okay? And so the new thought of going beyond the program, beyond the herd humanity consciousness, to bring the new thought of creative expression into form.
Yes. Yes, yes, and yes. And it's happening all the time in everything that we do and say. It's happening every second. You know, it's happening, but we don't notice it. So the best thing about this chapter and this thought is that it's taking us back, and our opportunity this week going forward is to just notice, like, oh, like even if it's just through the rest of today, just notice in your own life what you are programming the universe to deliver to you. Or notice in your life when something happens later today, whether you label it good or bad, that, oh, wait, this is the form or the body being delivered. What was it that I put into the mixing bowl? Right? Oh, yeah, the last month or so, I've been thinking a lot about whatever it is, and now here it is showing up. Right? I've been thinking a lot about how I don't like my job and how my boss sucks, and right? And so what just showed up was another assignment to give me more that I don't like, right? Or a conversation that gives me more of what I don't like, that I've been complaining about. But that's what I've been putting into the mixing bowl, so I'm getting more of that. Or I'm like, we can go back to Anita, thinking about and deciding it's time to consider a new car. And I'm thinking about that a lot. And now, after a couple of months of that, guess what? I walk out in my garage and there's my new car with all the things I selected. So on page 129, chapter 7, summary of part 1, the nature of being, we've just begun to dive into that. And next week, we'll start at the bottom of page 129 and expand on that even more and grapple with what is the distinction between the nature of being at the universal level and the nature of our experience at the human level. So our time is just about up for this week. Ryan, do we have any quick announcements?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that December is an amazing month here at CSL Dallas, so you kickstarted it off right. This weekend, we're going to be having the Mystic Note Cafe and Artist Trunk Show. And what that is it's a fun, family-friendly event, so you can bring the whole family with you. And it's the talent of our community coming together there to show off their amazing gifts, followed up by a little story most of you guys know of How the Grinch Stole Christmas by our fabulous Joe, who's going to be leading the theater team with that. And we also have artists in our community that have been featured throughout the entire year in our artist gallery who will be bringing their artwork to showcase off all weekend long. So make sure you're here for that. And then also we have some other celebrations, Christmas Eve, which is going to be coming up, and also the Burning Bowl, which is on New Year's Day, which really helps to kickstart off our New Year's. And myself personally, I'm going to be leading another Vision Quest, which is it's a awesome event. You come together, we do art, we do meditation, we have food, we have fun, and we kick off the new year. And you'll want to make sure to sign up for that by December 27th. I'm still stuck on Thanksgiving. I'm still stuck on the cake, actually. Just thinking about it, what I'm going to do later. So that's it for me. Any last words before we head on into the Sunday celebration?
It sounds like you don't want to miss out on all the things happening at CSL Dallas in the month of December. So check out the website, csldallas.org, and stay connected with us. And we'll see you back here next Sunday morning at 9:15 Central Time, if we don't see you at the celebration service or before. Have a great week, everybody.
All right.